Hello, good evening, everyone. Dear authors and invited guests, welcome to a technical session 3A. On behalf of ICT-IS 2021 and Global Knowledge Research Foundation, it's my great pleasure to welcome you to the 5th International Conference on Information and Communication Technology for Intelligent System through Zoom. We are thankful to everyone who present on this platform to go along with us digitally in these unpredictable circumstances of COVID-19 and making this conference more productive. Also, we wish everyone and their families to a protected time, and we all will together pass through this soon. We hope you will enjoy a 2 days of knowledgeable and interactive sessions. Just before we get started, I would like to introduce our session chair, Sateen Parekh. He is an Executive Dean Faculty of Computer Applications at Ganpat University, Ahmedabad, Gujarat. He has 20 years of experience. His interest area in academic and administrative activities of universities and development of new programs to develop better professional opportunity for youth. I welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
Now I would like to start with papers. Also, there is a special note for all presenter. You will be given 8 minutes for their presentation and 2 minutes for question answer. After 8 minutes, I will raise a gentle reminder for a conclusion. Please stick with the time.
Thank you.
So we can start our first presenter. Tahamia Yasmin, 5G security and privacy issue, a perspective view.
Author is present. Yeah. You please go ahead. Hello. I'm not getting any voice from author. Yeah.
Yasmin, you can unmute yourself, please.
Good afternoon to all the dignitaries present here. Am I audible now?
Yeah. Now it's perfect.
Okay. Thank you so much. So I would like to start with my presentation, and my presentation topic is today is 5G security and privacy issues, a perspective view. So I would like to go to my next slide over here. Sorry, it's okay. First of all, first here, I just would like to say that here some contents is present in my presentation. First of all, introduction. After that, how fast 5G is. Then key security challenges in 5G network, privacy challenges in 5G, conclusion and references. So next slide, the introduction part. First of all, presently we are arriving at 2021. The world which is seeing the actually undesirable and discrimination of 5G networks, which guarantee to change the versatile remote interchanges, offering quicker types of assistance and extremely low deferrals, and all especially unavoidable availability through cell phones. So it is quite worth to comment that the primary world view which will exploit from 5G is actually the problems, the threats, the privacy things, and the issues coming out after developing of the 5G networks. which is basically depend on IoT and the other threats also which is coming out. The spreading of 5G innovation additionally creates significant worries for us also, as far as security and privacy aspects also. So that in my today's topic that I am going to explain, because of in this paper I would just I went through various kind of paper, and basically this is a review paper and I have made this kind of conclusions and problems. So I have shown over here, because of the persistent and remote association with the network, how which kind of problems we are going to face, and how threats that we are getting, which prevents the dependency and dependability of the elaborate gadgets. So this paper is basically investigated the present status of our workmanship about the currently security and privacy arrangement custom made to 5G. So I would like to go to next slide. That is, here I am trying to show that how fast 5G is working and how fast it is and the use of it. So basically, as from this structure I have made, you all can see that here the things first 1G and 2G, 3G, 4G and up to this 5G, you all can see that more than 10 Gbps data and downloading speed is different. Along with this speed, 5G speed tops out at 10 gigabyte per second, but the download speed says that it is more faster than this speed also. So it is more far 10 to 100 faster than what you can get in 4G also. So here the frequencies like the millimeter waves between 30 gigahertz to 300 gigahertz is used for 5G network. So that's why it's are going to too faster, and for these issues when we are going too faster and therefore high band use in 5G spectrum providers the expected boost not also in the speed but also in capacity also, we are facing low latency also and the quality issues also. So maybe its download speed differ from this whatever showing now that 10 Gbps, but download speed says more than 400 to 500 Gbps also. So it is constantly connected to IoT devices. That is very much actually larger transfer of volumes of data over 5G networks. So some of the key security challenges I came to know from various after go through various papers and the various security aspects, various books also. The main problems in key security challenges we can face in 5G network is basically actually the 5G, they are at mitigation control like DDoS attack and IoT DDoS threat mitigation, insufficient technology, that is purely on TRL, insufficient technology, security threats in 5G enabled IoT, cloud computing and edge paradigm. So next slide, I explain about how we are facing in IoT and DDoS threat mitigations problems. So here I would like to say that 5G will support different ratio access technologies to current the various kind of devices. But in addition to 4G ratio, 5G will introduce various kind of technology like NOMA and massive MIMO and millimeter wave. So these all other is also using to IoT communication technologies also. So computerized IoT based these DDoS attacks and other attacks and exploits end-to-end services application, these all are going to vulnerable and are expected to increase after when we will run the 5G properly. Then we can only understand the data and the security is not too much maintained over there and not look after over there the security key security aspects also. So to tackle 5G related security challenges, if we see that businesses and network operators will adopt a shared security models also similar to like cloud security, DDoS protection is likely to become the most important component of 5G security, as the number of devices also connecting to a network grows growth each day, and every day we have seen that. And these devices are often vulnerable to exploitatory various kind of attacks also, like various kind of, it may be virus attack, it may be another kind of threat attack. So various kind of attacks we can face, and a conventional security approach may not offer also adequate protection. So that also a consequences we are seeing over here, and bandwidth usage also increases. So therefore organization will seek various kind of automated security solutions also, that may be related to AI, may be related to machine learning. So threat detections also responsible for this. Now I'm going to next problem, that is we are going to face like insufficient TRL. It is saying that network basically decreasing these empowers of the management of different regular networks for all the intents and functions, use business organizations approaches on a medium framework through various kind of aid. So this compared to the opportunity that the transportable network may be parceled into pretty a few houses also, that may be virtual also. So everyone is known as the
Dear presenter, dear
yes.
presenter, you have last 1 minute.
Okay, so this one also I would like to explain the further things. 5G, they are in mitigation controls also. Here also we are seeing that network decreasing empowers also in management in different regular networks, as well as their intensities and functionalities lose business organization approach. They can lose their data very easily as high frequency and high bandwidth used over here. So median boldly framework through and with aid of this comprises opportunities and transportable network also the effect of this kind of things. And the next thing, cloud computing also, here we can say there are numerous administration models also distributed this computing, and some of the models also had been opened that cloud computing has numerous focal point and empowers lessons also that may be to cost also, and it very well may be negligible. We cannot negligible this kind of problems, and we have to face for this cloud computing and various kind of IoT related problems also. And next, some of the privacy challenges in 5G networks also we can see: shared environmental use of personal data ownership issues, data privacy issues to end-to-end security system also it may can affect. And third party can also get the data, bring the data as here various kind of developer to design more interactive several uses. And so last I have tried to include some of the security threats over here, security challenges with for privacy data in 5G technology. Some of the security threats I have shown over here that their target point is this kind of things, like for malware also the target point user clicks on a malicious link or attachment, then only their privacy can harm, their privacy can lose also. So these kind of security threats I have shown over here, and the target points also I have included, and those privacy are in danger. So that's why I have shown this kind of things. So lastly, I would like to conclude my paper, that is from various kind of things I come to this conclusion that it is being featured for fundamental safety and confidentiality encounters. We need to focus on 5G security aspects, and to improve those points which I focused over this paper. It may because of constraints independent and incorporate sending of these advance of 5G, and it may very danger to for our data safety also. So we have to focus and concentrate to our privacy and security aspects mainly. So for 5G remote also, IoT gadgets and various kind of problems we should look after. So that's some of the references over here I have used. Thank you to all of you.
Hello, Tamina.
Yes, sir.
So you have chosen the right topic. For that, I want to congratulate you. But at the same time, what is lacking, like when you was explaining the paper, okay, you said somewhere like some author says this thing. So when it means we are presenting a paper, it is our moral responsibility to give the honor to the authors who has contributed in this area and who inspired you to write this paper. Okay, so you
Yes,
should
sir.
name the author and then it means it will give the citations as well as it means the reference is there, but at the same time when you are presenting you should remember the name of author who has already contributed in the area.
Okay,
Second
sir.
thing, yeah,
Thank you,
okay.
sir.
Second thing, you have to understand that how to manage the time, because what happens because you are assistant professor, so you started like teaching and then when
Sorry, sir.
you have
Actually,
instructed that yes, the only 2 minutes are remaining, then you it means try to cover all the things. So how to manage the time, it is very much important, and you should focus on the key points like
sorry,
you,
sir. I will focus from next time, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. I will focus definitely from next time.
right. Okay,
Yes.
and try to cover the technical aspects which are critical. Don't cover the basic things, because the people who are attending the conference probably they are well aware with the basic things. So try to cover the key technical aspect, root cause of the problem, and then if you are proposing any solution,
Okay.
you should go into that detail. Okay,
Oh,
thank you.
okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir. I will surely follow next time. Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
thank you.
So now we can call our next presenter, Jitendra Pandey. Water quality analysis and prediction techniques using artificial intelligence. I think Jitendra Pandey is not there.
Okay, so let's start. Let it means go with the next paper, and in between, if he join, then we'll take later on.
Done. So we can call our next presenter,
Sure.
Bhuvneshwari
Sasi Priya and Bhuvneshwari. Okay. Efficient resource distribution in cognitive radio network by fuzzy-based cluster against attacks. Authors, please start the presentation.
Any co-author of this paper is present? I think she is also not present.
Okay.
So we can move ahead.
Yeah.
Call our next presenter, Uma Maheshwari. So G. Uma Maheshwari,
Yeah, she is present.
dialogue extraction and translation from stories on Trikular using verb Q codes.
Tirukural, ma'am. It is Tirukural.
It's Tirukular using verb Q codes contain source identifiers.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, may I know if my screen is visible, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So good evening, one and all. I am Uma Maheshwari from the Department of Computer Science and Engineering from the College of Engineering, Gindi, Anna University, Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India. And the topic of my discussion today is a dialogue extraction and translation from stories on Tirukural using verb queue code content source identifiers. So I will be taking you through this project, which I took it up as my project in my master's in engineering. So Tirukural is one of the ancient texts in Tamil literature that aims at preaching moral values and life lessons to the people. So it would be apt to say that it is a way of living in itself. So Tirukurals contain 1330 couplets with 7 words each, aiming at bringing about the importance of moral values to be followed by every human being in life. So in this information era, it is necessary that such values are taught to the young minds or toddlers in an efficient way. So it is a proven fact that such young minds have an innate love for stories. So this work is a part of my project work that aims to make young students understand the meaning or moral behind Tirukurals through the use of components of graphic novels like characters, dialogues, speech balloons, etc. So in general, a graphic novel is what is something that is believed to be an ideal medium for visual storytelling. So this project primarily aims at performing storytelling to the younger generation. And why I chose graphic novel is because it has rich expressivity and high interoperability. So stories can be expressed visually using components of such graphic novels such as characters, panels, gutters, and speech balloons. So in this way, the primary objective of making the end user understand the context and the essence of the story is met. So in the right, as you can see, the storyboard is what inspired me to start working on this project. So this is actually a hard copy of a book which I referred. So this is a book which contains the stories, as I said, which makes use of graphic novels to bring about the moral behind the Tirukural by making use of characters, speech balloons, etc. So the problem statement for this work is given a story with dialogues between characters that convey the meaning of couplet in its moral. The characters involved are identified initially using the techniques of named entity recognition. And then the dialogues, and they're along with the source of each dialogue. That is, along with the source of each dialogue, in the sense the person who has uttered the dialogue are identified using a verb queue code content source identifier. And then after pronoun replacement of the character dialogue pairs obtained, the dialogues will be translated to Tamil. So these are the details about the papers which I referred for the literature survey. And the issues which I identified during the course of this project work was the verb queue code content source classifier actually failed to recognize the unusual verb cues. So in that case, what I did was I used only a selective number of verb cues such as said, told, etc. for verb queue identification. And then the attribution and co-reference resolution process seemed to be primary sources of significant errors. So in that case, powerful tool from the Python library was used in order to perform co-reference resolution in order to avoid such errors. And then the management of the character database could be difficult with too many characters with varied attributes. So in that case, I limited the number of characters to be used in my final storyboards. And lastly, the dialogues for different stories were not effectively generated. So in that case, I used regular expressions and code content identifiers to effectively extract dialogues from the stories coined. And this is the block diagram of the system. So first we choose Adhigaram. In the sense, an Adhigaram is a collection of 10 Tirukural couplets in Tirukural. So the Adhigaram which was chosen by me for this project is Olka Mudaimai. And from that I coined separate stories for each couplet involving the source, the character and the dialogues in such a way that at the end of the story, the moral will be revealed to the student. So these stories in English were fed to the system, which performs character identification, source character dialogue identification and pronoun replacement, and dialogues translation. And we will obtain the final dialogues in Tamil language. So these were the 5 couplets which I selected, and I created stories for each of the couplets. And for the character identification module, from each story, tokenization and POS tagging was done, as a result of which tagged text was obtained, and then noun phrase chunking was performed to obtain chunks, as a result of which IOB tagging and entity identification was done to identify the entities as persons. So as persons, such names will be, obviously, there will be characters. So for dialogue extraction, I made use of regular expressions to identify dialogues within double quotes. And for dialogue source character identification, I made use of Spacy and Textacy libraries in order to identify the source of each of the dialogue. And it could be seen that some of the sources identified included pronouns, but it had to be replaced by the actual name of the source in order to be used for storyboard creation. So I had to perform pronoun replacement, for which I made use of Spacy and NCORF MD libraries. So this was the result which was obtained. And finally, I performed language translation using the Google Trans library to obtain the dialogues in Tamil. So the final storyboard which will be generated will contain the character images along with the dialogues in Tamil. And so these were the output screenshots which I got. So for 5 Tirukurals which were considered, I created stories in such a way that 32 number of dialogues were coined, and the system found to identify all the 32 dialogues. And upon co-reference resolution, I was able to identify the source of each character, in source of each dialogue too. And so this was the result of dialogue translation. You can see that all the dialogues are appearing in Tamil. And then for evaluating the system, I made use of a simple actual to predicted character names identification. And then I compared the both to obtain the final confusion matrix, as a result of which I have identified the precision score, recall score, and F1 score as shown here. And then, so I concluded the work by performing sentiment analysis on all the dialogues involved. So I found out that these were the polarity and subjectivity scores obtained. And 0.00 is something which indicates that the dialogue has neutral sentiment. Above 0, it is below 0, it is negative sentiment, and above 0, it is positive sentiment. So these were the results of analysis on the work. So this graph shows the plots of polarity and subjectivity against dialogue identifiers. So it just helps us to identify that there are 3 categories, namely positive, neutral, and negative sentiments of dialogues. And this shows that the number of dialogues with neutral sentiment and those with highest and lowest polarity values were used. So this is an implication of such polarity scores obtained. And this graph is the same in the same way it was used to obtain the subjectivity scores, and it is visible from this graph that the subjectivity scores are either 0 or positive in this case. In general, a person's opinion, emotion, and judgment and the subjectivity scores can be used to differentiate between the opinion that describe people's feelings towards a specific subject or topic. So that is what is all about subjectivity metric. And this is the final graph which I plotted to obtain a plot on the histogram of the counts of polarity and subjectivity scores. So it could be seen that with respect to the count of the subjectivity and polarity values obtained, it can be seen that the dialogues with neutral polarity as subjectivity values are dominant. With this line, it could be visible. And to conclude, so graphic novels are indeed one of the powerful tools to convey information and ideas by making use of their components along with suitable domain knowledge. So in this proposal, the domain chosen to be interpreted with were the facts and morals hidden behind the couplets of Tirukural. So Tiruvalluvar is the author of Tirukural. So as initial step towards developing graphic novel-based storyboards to perform storytelling of Tirukurals, as we saw, powerful natural language processing techniques were employed to extract dialogues and characters from stories, and then the dialogues are matched with the sources and are translated to Tamil. So it is seen that the libraries and the methodologies used have served to provide a good performance by extracting all the dialogues involved along with their appropriate character sources. So the next step will be to place all the dialogues obtained and along with the characters identified, I mean along with the pictures of the characters identified within a storyboard containing panels and speech balloons in order to obtain a final result wherein the students or the end users will be able to understand the moral behind a Tirukural with the help of the dialogues and the interaction which is carried on in the storyboard. So these were the references. And that's all. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Uma, for your nice presentation. And it was really nice work you presented here.
Thank you.
Really, it means our researcher need to work on the ascent literatures, and we have lots of local regional languages, and lots of material is there, and translation and understanding of the material is key need. So you are addressing the right kind of problem. Uma, just I wanted to understand that what kind of it means which algorithm you are using from Python neural network libraries.
Uh, for co-reference resolution, sir.
Uh, Sorry?
Actually, sir,
Because there are various algorithms available, and
the NeuroCodeFN which I proposed is actually a Python library. Once again, sir.
Python library is okay, but internally,
Yeah.
which algorithm you are using here? It means to solve this problem.
Sir, for each and every module, since standard libraries were available, by making use of the proper function, by understanding the working of the library and making use of proper
Library is okay,
functions
but
in
in
place, I
library
was
there
able to
are
perform.
yeah, like in libraries you can choose the different algorithms also. If you will choose the right algorithm,
Yes, sir.
okay. Anyway, have you it means derived the statistics like the performance of the model and other things?
Yes, sir. I have derived it by making use of precision recall and F-score metrics as shown here, sir. So the precision is the ratio of the correctly predicted character names to those that are the total number of predicted character names. So I keep a list of the identified character names by the model in hand, and another list of the actual names of the characters. I compare both through a code, and then I evaluate the working of this particular system through precision recall and F1 scores.
Right. And what you have, what
Yes.
measure you have taken, it means in consideration, because we know that whenever we translate with the Google, you have used the Google
Yes, sir.
translator. So there are
Yes, sir.
significant error when we are translating the sentence. So
Yes, sir.
to remove that kind of error, have you applied any other thing, or it is as it is taken in your model?
Sir, I actually analyzed the working of the entire system to know what kind of input is to be given to the system to obtain the desired result in the output translation. So based upon the results which I obtained in translation, I modified the input stories because I am the person who will be coining all these stories. Since I have an expertise in Tamil, based upon that, I changed the phrases or changed the context in English so that I obtained the exact required translation
So it is manual, manually, it means you are doing this
in
thing.
Tamil.
Okay, that's it from my side. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Now I would like to call our next presenter, Bhuvneshwari. Bhuvneshwari, efficient resources distribution in cognitive radio network by fuzzy-based cluster against attacks.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, all. Can I share my screen?
Yes, please.
Good evening, Professor. I am Bhuvaneshwari. I'm going to present my topic, efficient resource distribution in cognitive radio network by fuzzy-based cluster against attack. So this is my presentation outline. I'm going to tell the objective, my workflow, proposed model, performance analysis, result, and discussion, reference. And this is my objective. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are perfectly audible. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. So my objective is to design a cognitive wireless power sensor network for efficient resource distribution by fuzzy-based cluster using greedy algorithm against attack. So first I'll tell you what is cognitive radio network. It is coined by Mitola in 1999. Cognitive radio network is an adaptive intelligent radio and network technology accommodated new secondary users while ensuring the quality of service, requirements of primary user. Here, primary user make use of licensed band, whereas secondary user is unlicensed band. So in conventional radio view, unlicensed spectrum is having some interferences, whereas in cognitive radio view, unlicensed spectrum has windows of opportunity. Cognitive radio network aim at performing the cognitive operations such as sensing the spectrum, managing available resources, making user-independent decision, intelligent decision based on cooperation of multiple cognitive nodes. And this is cognitive radio network, which comprise of primary user and secondary user. So this cognitive radio network has three paradigm. They are interwave, overlay model, underlay model. Interlay means secondary user is allowed to access the spectrum holes to avoid interference to primary user. Example is IEEE 802.2 WRANN in TV broadcast bands. And here the challenges are spectrum sensing is required to detect spectrum holes. It is pronoun to detect an error. No concurrent transition are possible to primary user and secondary user. It depend on primary traffic pattern. So this is a problem here. And when you go to underlay model, secondary user power is constrained to cause minimal interference to primary user. Here the challenges are secondary user performance is severely degraded near to the primary user transmitter. To obtain channel side information of interfacing link is difficult. Transmit power of secondary user remains constrained even when primary user is idle. So this is a great challenge. And here comes the overlay model. This is what proposed in my research. A more appealing class of cognitive radio through secondary user cooperation enhances quality of service of primary user by assisting primary transmission as well as accepting spectrum for their own communication. It is less stringent to interference power, restrictions over underlay counterpart. And here are the benefits of cognitive radio. It increases the bandwidth, provides spatial diversity, increases overall quality of service of network, eliminate channel impairment, provides energy efficient and better channel condition, provide communication reliability, reduces overall operation cost and system reliability. And here we are going to focus on energy harvesting. It is a process in which energy is captured from a system environment and converted into usable electric power. The energy can be any format. It may be a solar or thermal energy. It may be anything. All the energy can be converted as an electricity. And need of energy harvesting is this is provides a mean of powering electronics when there is no conventional power source, eliminating the need for frequent battery replacement and running wires to end application. So this is an energy harvesting network. Here the harvested energy can be used continuously or it can be stored and forwarded. And this is my proposed model workflow. First, we have to design a cognitive radio network which comprise of primary user and secondary user. Here we are going to focus on Swift analysis. That is, it comprises of two phase. One is wireless power transfer, that is WPT, and another one is wireless information transfer. So this two phase will be working in Swift mode, that is simultaneous information power transfer mode is carried out. Secondary user act as a friendly jammer or cooperative relay to improve primary user security. Creating security to primary user is next task. Then we have to randomly generate some attack like eavesdropping or denial of service or man in the middle. The channel state information is collected, and using machine learning model, it is used to check the accuracy and security of the network is produced here. So this is the workflow. And the wireless power secondary user to cooperate with primary user is the important task. Secondary user first harvest energy from power signal transfer from cognitive hybrid access point during wireless power transfer phase. Then the harvested energy is interfere with the attack and gain transmission opportunity at the same time during wireless information transfer phase. So we are going to deal with two phase, that is two protocol is proposed. So maximization of resource allocation based on fuzzy based cluster using greedy algorithm is proposed to for perfect channel state information. Here collusion and non-collusion of attack, both the condition is considered under the primary user secrecy constraint. More primary user aimed at minimum primary user secrecy outage probability is proposed. So this is the system model. Here eavesdropping attack is given, and here we have secondary user. Most secondary user are connected with primary user. So we have primary transmitter, primary receiver, CHAP, that is nothing but channel hybrid access point. It acts as a base station. So the channel communication link, interface link, eavesdropping link are given here. So whenever there is any attack, the secondary user will monitor the uh, movement of attackers, and it will send an jamming or uh, artificial noise for disturbing the attackers, so that the primary user information is protected. So that is the ultimate aim of secondary user here. So for more primary user, fuzzy cluster-based greedy algorithm was proposed, aiming at minimizing the primary user secrecy outage probability. Channel state information is unknown to secondary user. If this is the condition, then we'll achieve more efficient. And if it is reversed, the efficiency will be less. So as I told you, there are two phases in this protocol. One is to harvest energy from source node, using this energy to interface with the attack. And secondary phase is secrecy energy efficiency was maximized by optimizing the time allocation and power allocation. So these are the two phase. So Swift is performed here, that is simultaneous wireless information power transfer mode is adapted. So it can transfer power and information simultaneously. No
Dear
additional.
presenter, you have last 1 minute.
Yes, ma'am. So there are two phase. Secondary user harvest energy, and it one phase another it will transfer information. And here artificial noise generation attackers monitored, and this greedy algorithm provides an optimum solution. And this is the proposed analysis. So normal the power is different, and in case of attack the power levels are different. And this is the average opportunity discovery ratio for combining with different existing methods. And this is the power average opportunity discovery ratio. And when we vary the length of the window, the result will be different. And in the proposed scheme, these average opportunity discovery versus average SNR is high, and capacity of primary user is good. And this is the resultant of channel utilization, and this is power maximization, and this is fuzzy based clustering. So we are grouping the detailed information of primary, secondary, and attackers. And the finally fuzzy based clustering gives good solution, and this model can be incorporated with internet of medical thing. So this is my next part. So for optimization, I'm going with IOMT. So thank you for listening.
Bhuvneshwari,
Sir,
yeah, it's nice presentation.
thank you,
How
sir.
you have derived the result from your model? Which simulator you have used?
Sir, I have used MATLAB, sir. Here I have generated some random samples. So I have
Okay.
set some primary user as 20 and secondary user as 15, sir. So when I create some random noise, I will get some data sets there. So using that data set, I can identify which attack and whether the given result is normal or some attacking is there. So I have
Okay.
certain formulas to derive that, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So now we can call our next presenter, Anshul Jain, designing a secure integration of IoT ecosystem and intrusion detection using machine learning approaches.
Yes, ma'am, I'm sharing my screen.
Yes.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, it's perfectly visible.
Thank you, sir. And thank you, ma'am. My name is Anshul Jain, and I'm going to present my paper on topic designing a secure integration of IoT ecosystem and intrusion detection using machine learning approaches. So this paper has been co-written by me. Okay, so these are the table of contents. So first we will give a brief introduction followed by some security issues in IoT and the intrusion detection methods. So we will also discuss in brief some machine learning techniques. After that, we will go to our proposed architecture followed by conclusion. Okay, so first of all, what is an IoT ecosystem? I think most of us are already aware about what is IoT. So I will just discuss in one or two lines about ecosystem. So ecosystem is an end-to-end network of the IoT devices. So this ecosystem can contain multiple different types, or we can call heterogeneous devices. So, and basically most of these IoT devices are dumb devices. The use of these devices is to forward the data to their server or the cloud network, where the data is processed and result is presented in the end application. Okay, so going to some of the security issues in IoT ecosystem. So I have briefly mentioned some of the uh, security issues. So first is hardware challenge. So hardware challenge and proprietary issues, they both are interlinked. So what we can say, let's say take example of Philips IoT device hardware. So if we try to integrate the Philips IoT device hardware to any of the Samsung applications, so it won't work. So it is because of the proprietary settings that one hardware is compatible with their application only, and other than they have a hardware dedicatedly designed as per their application. Next is tempering. So the main use of IoT device is to be placed them remotely other than using them in hand. So most of these devices are placed remotely. Let's say take an example of a farm or any of the industrial equipment. So one security issue is related to tempering. In case there is a theft of that device, and the intruder wants to tamper that device and install a chip, so these devices should be designed in a way that in case someone tries to tamper, they either gets damaged or tampering is not possible. Next is software challenge. So software challenge is again related in a way that most of these devices are designed on a low end hardware, and they are not designed to get the real time updates. So in case there is a vulnerability identified in an application, we cannot patch them remotely. Network challenges are our regular network challenge, which can be solved either by installing router or strengthening our routing rules and by firewalls. So the edge security, endpoint security, application and network security, we will be discussing in later slides. So these are the three most important intrusion detection methods which we have used and discussed. So first is signature based algorithm. So signature based detection is like the antivirus which is installed in our PCs. So it is achieved by comparing identified data with the object database. Signature based detection, we also call it knowledge based, because it is matched with the predefined database or algorithms which are already uh, fitted or deployed in our database. So in case application or malicious application comes, its signature is matched with the signature in our database. Next is anomaly based detection. In anomaly based detection, thinks of a current client experiment against client logs recently stacked. So it is based something related to machine learning. So a pattern is formed as per the current transactions which are going, and it is matched with the current pattern. Okay, so and in case there is an anomaly, it is detected. So next is hybrid. So hybrid is a combination of signature and anomaly, because either of these detection algorithm won't work in a silo, so it is best to use them together. Okay, so these are the three machine learning techniques we have used. First is the random forest or detection tree. So I will briefly discuss about the algorithm in two lines about these. So forest random consists of multiple single trees based on an arbitrary instance of data planning. So like we can see in the diagram, so how it happens is there is a node in the tree. So first of all, a best quality data set is defined, and then it is further distributed into subsets. So again, in case the achieved result is not found, or the targeted result is not achieved, the node is further divided into subsets, and these cycle goes on until the desired result is achieved. Next is Bayesian network. So Bayesian network are a kind of probabilistic graphic system that can be used to create data models and expert opinions. So they can also be used for a wide range of errors, including assumptions and detections, evaluations, mechanized intelligence, and some other. Next is a neural network. So neural network is an algorithm procession that attempts to perceive primary connections in many data through a procedure that emulates the way nature cerebrum works. Okay, so coming to the proposed architecture of IoT and IDS ecosystem using machine learning. So this is the proposed architecture. In this paper, we have only proposed this architecture and we have not experimented upon it. So we are working on a next experiment where this proposed architecture has been simulated on a machine. So this architecture we have divided into three parts. First is endpoint IDS. So these endpoint IDS are the devices which are deployed on site. So these are the actual hardware devices, whether it is deployed on any hospital, smart city, or end user device in cars or cameras. So most of these devices can be protected using endpoint intrusion detection system. Next, these devices are connected to network. So network can be our normal IP-based network, either through a broadband or any other connection. And it can be a non-IP based network, RF or telecom network.
Dear
So,
presenter, we have last 1 minute.
yes, ma'am. So these uh, devices are again secured by the network security devices. It can be firewall or router switches. So again, the network is connected to our data processing module, which is either hardware at data center or it can be a cloud module. So everything happens here. All our applications, machine learning modules, and this all the detection methods are deployed here. So all the alert mechanism happens here, and the data which is collected using the endpoints get processed and it is forwarded to the application. Okay, so that's it from my side. We in this paper we have discussed in brief about the security issues, the intrusion detection methods, some of the machine learning techniques, and the algorithm which the proposed by us or architecture proposed by us. Thank you very much. These are some of the references we have used in writing this paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Anshul. So it is my humble request to all the presenters, like many questions are there in the chat box. So if you can reply after completion of your presentation, it can help disseminate your knowledge among the other interested researchers. So please reply in the chat box related to the questions of your presentation.
Sure, sir.
Anshul,
Yes, sir.
yeah, you said that it means you have mentioned broadly all the things, security, algorithms, and all these things.
Yes,
So
sir.
right now you have not tested your model, like whether which algorithm you have to use, whether it is a random forest or whether it is neural network. It is still not decided.
No, sir. In this paper, we have not tested, but it has already been tested, and the paper is out for publication in a different journal.
Okay.
So we have basically tested it on a healthcare system, and the algorithm we have used is related to neural networks.
Okay. Right.
Yes.
So in this paper, you have not presenting any statistics related to the comparative performance of the different algorithms or
No, sir. So this is basically the initial study of the experiment which we are going. So we have just designed the architecture, and based on that architecture, we have performed our further studies. So which is a detailed paper. We have already sent it to for publication in a different journal.
Okay.
But in this, it was only a study and a proposed architecture.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for giving me a chance.
Now we can call our next presenter, Shashikant. Professional Learning Community PLC, a model of incorporating ET practices of continuous improvement in blended teaching learning process.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody.
Yeah, good afternoon.
We have done a small experiment at our institution level. You all, next slide, please, madam. See, all of us know that in India, generally a scenario is there is a certain expansion in engineering education leading to a paucity of the faculty. Therefore, delivery through the untrained teacher is to the very great extent. And as an outcome, quality set of skills observed are to be very low. Next, please. To overcome this issue, imparting technical education in engineering, we have developed a model known as Professional Learning Community, PLC. It involves various CT practices and IT strategies. Next, please. Now, what is this professional learning community? Let us see. An ongoing process in which educators work collaboratively in recurring cycle of the collective inquiry and action research to achieve best result for the students they serve, and learning groups that meet on regular basis and plan session and solve the problem to improve the quality accordingly. Next, please. The state-of-the-art learners community have been implemented at schools. No experimental data is available. Rather, it is not implemented at the higher educational institute, especially engineering college. Therefore, we have set a professional learning community at our HEI. Now, my colleague author is over here. She will present the rest of the things because the convener of this professional learning community, Manisha Nirgodetti, please take over.
Yes, thank you, sir. So objective of this PLC is to provide a platform for faculty members to share and exchange views and suggestions regarding this education technology. Secondly, the blend of various learner-centric strategies and ICT tools in teaching learning process to enhance, of course, the outcomes. To review these ET activities periodically and provide the expertise and guidance through the regular meetings and follow-ups. So teachers will be engaged in peer discussions and assessment of the resources created and creating learner-centric MOOC. The basic advantage is that to facilitate students to learn anywhere, anytime, and many times. And of course, due to this e-content creation and use of ICT, it will facilitate faculty members to save some time for the other academic activities. So how this PLC works? So this PLC is constituted to continuously enhance the teaching learning process, and it is formed of, or it is a blended formulation of principal, that is administrator, PLC coordinators. So we are having various researchers which are working, those who are working as mentors, and of course the people are practicing their instruction strategies and this ET in groups. So for example, some of peer practitioners are working for flipped classroom strategy, or some are working for role play, gamification, and so on. This PLC focuses on disruptive innovations in teacher learning through this creation of e-contents and learner-centric MOOCs, continuous use of instructional strategies and ICT tools during course delivery. We are using learning management system Moodle very effectively, and continuous improvisation of this TL process through students' feedback. So let us look at this e-content creation. So we have established a recording studio titled e-learning center for this video creation. So various presentation modes are used for this creating videos, like presentation, demonstration, then document camera for writing derivations, and so on. For creating such videos, we have set a process to make sure that it will have uniformity and ensuring minimum quality standards. Our faculty members, every faculty member has completed the course on designing learner-centric MOOC. And that's why every faculty member keeps on adding videos and creating learner-centric MOOC partially for that respective course. These LCMs are deployed on our institutional Moodle server itself. So every year we are creating around 1200 videos, which are of the duration around 12 minutes, and around 170 LCM partially for the courses. Now here we are working in two phases for creating videos and this MOOCs, that planning and implementation. So for planning, we have set some standards, that design of the course content, then schedule for creation, and then again striving for improvement. Whereas in implementation, we are designing SM components like learning dialogues, LBD activity and assignment. Then we are making a schedule so that students will not get burden of it. Then collecting the feedbacks for improvisation, and then again do the assessment, which is important part. In secondary, all the faculty members are using instruction strategies and ICT tools during the course delivery, which they plan while planning the course plan, and which activities they are going to use, or which strategies and tools they are going to employ. On an average per year, we are using 15 different instruction strategies and 10 ICT tools. So these are some of the instruction strategies and tools and platforms that we are using during our course delivery and content delivery. So we have 2 Moodle servers installed at our institute, and all the student for 2500 students and around 150 faculty members are enrolled on it. These are accessible remotely. So this platform is used for publishing courses and their assessment, feedback on teaching learning process, placements, employability enhancement activities, and so on. So for programming courses, we are using virtual programming lab on Moodle. So in assessment, we are doing formative and summative assessments, which is carried out using proven forms. But apart from these conventional tools, we are using various ICT tools like Socrative, Kahoot. They are the tools which are giving immediate feedback on content delivery. Then we are using Moodle, Google Classroom, Google Forms. For programming courses, we are using VPL on Moodle and HackerEarth, HackerRank platforms. So it is needless to emphasize that this feedback is important for continuous improvement, and we do take feedback for regular teaching learning process and also for this LCM activity. So we take twice feedback in a semester for a particular course, and then for ensuring the quality of the videos and LCM, we take the feedback. So these are some of the parameters which we take while taking these feedbacks. So this is our journey of PLC. We have formulated PLC in 1516, and then till date. Now, if you look at this, for in 1819, we have established that particular. We have started publishing our videos, and then we are using these instruction strategies and ICT tools. So these videos which we have created are published on this YouTube channel, and as on date, we are having 2880 videos, whereas 21,611 subscribers against this 2500 student strength, and these are the total view. If you look at this, there are the views from this nation is 76% around, and outside nation is 23%. But in the last day's statistics says that from nation it is 64% and from outside it is 35%. So these are some of the awards that we have got, that from IUC, then IIT Bombay, then SAF Fellowship Award, then Infosys, and so on. So second is that recognition. So for this, we have got this particular PLC activities has been recognized by this LATICE, or the fourth international conference LATICE at IIT Bombay, and this activities has been disseminated as a role model. Then our 23 faculty members have been worked as an associate faculty of IIT Bombay for the course of this foundation program in ICT for education and pedagogy. Substantial ET practices are emerging as some of the best practices, and to our credit, there are 52 publications. So one thing, these are the grants that we have received, that grant of AICT, and also some of the grants for in the form of scholarships for attending this ET research and ET conferences. So how we have worked in COVID pandemic also. So here, up to this March 2020, we were having 12 lakh viewers, and then subscribers 8,400. Whereas if you look at the statistics from March to August, it has been increased by 50%. That is 18 lakh, and these subscribers were 12. And as on date, this is 2.5 times than which was the views were there previous to this COVID over there. So thus all these videos, e-content generation, LCM activities helped us for this smoothly shift overnight from this physical classroom mode of teaching to online mode of teaching. So for conclusion, the PLC provides a platform for faculty members for sharing and exchanging views and suggestions. Students' learning has improved considerably. So leveraging technology enabled not only for scaling, but also for content generation to improve the teaching learning process. And of course, it is benefiting both students as well as faculty members, not only from the institute, but from the globe. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shashikant and Dr. Manisha for the presentation. And it's a nice efforts done by your side. Any question from the audience regarding to this PLC? I think it is useful for everyone. Professional learning community.
Yeah, we will be happy to answer all the questions.
Madam, just show our first page so that they can have our email and they can address afterwards when they want. And because of all these activities, we have able to complete 100% course curriculum and assessment both.
Right. Dr. Shashikant, one question is from my side.
Yeah,
are we, it means evaluating student performance based on object-based learning system, OBS?
both we are taking, subjective and objective.
No,
Because objective is simply objective is a question and simply subjective is difficult to do online. Therefore, for that, what we have done, what we can say.
No, sir, my question is related to OBE, object-based.
It is.
Yes, sir, I got your point. See,
Yes.
that is, you are talking about the cognitive level and the course outcomes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and that our assessment is on the basis of that. Even our question papers are all like that. And we have been accredited thrice by NBA, and this was the question raised everywhere. So,
Right.
Thank you. And we are doing that, sir. And moreover, because of this, we are able to assess the students at the higher cognitive level also.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you for patience.
Thank you. Hello, Richa. All the presentation are done, or it means one presentation. I think presenter was not there, so
he'll be absent.
okay. So let us conclude
Yes,
this
sir, yes,
conference
sir.
over here.
So we had just completed our all presentation. I sincerely thank our authors for their excellent presentation and contribution in this session, and all our participants for being a part of this international conference. I hope this session was informative enough. All the presentation would be getting their digital certificates through email within 2 working days. Further, all the papers have already forwarded to the Springer. The publication will be live within 5 to 6 months. Kindly cooperate with the team of ICT-IS 2021. I also thank our session chair, Dr. Sateen Parekh, for chairing this session. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
I request my team to display the certificate. So it's a token of appreciation on the behalf of Team ICT-IS 2021 and Global Knowledge Research Foundation.
Thank you, madam. And I appreciate the efforts of your team. Really, even in this COVID situation, you are doing good, and you are providing a very wonderful platform to all the researchers for the interaction. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Before end, I would like to request to everyone to turn on their camera for a quick snapshot for this virtual conference. Please, everyone, turn on their cameras. Done. Thank you so much. Stay safe. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.